This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games!
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby! We ain't done yet! We ain't done yet! You like that? You like that? I like that!
How's it going, everybody? You are watching and listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 96. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus.
And on this episode, we do have a special guest, and we'll kind of let him pop himself in right around the time when we call for him here, talking about the Arizona Coyotes in our starting lineup. We get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, our Eastwood segment, talking playoffs in the high heat, our color commentary of this being NFL draft week. Then we close it out with our stud and dud. And without further ado, I think we probably just kick this off with our guest and talking about the latest addition to Utah, and it's SaulTWalterz.
I swear, if they call us the Yetis, so help me. Oh. No, what's going on, people?
I mean, as long as they get rid of that bogus Coyote logo, I don't care what they call it.
Hey. There's a reason it came back, all right? Like I was a Yokes fan, okay? So, I liked it better than the second one they tried. Well, it had, the Native American aspects to it. It was different. Yeah. It was offhanded. It was really cool. And I loved it. I loved it. I love the colors. But anyway, that's in the past. This is now.
And now you guys have to deal with a new local close to the area rivalry in the Colorado Avalanche.
I say nay. I don't think Colorado will be our rivals in this one.
So, where are you going with this, Vegas?
Yes. I think the goal will eventually be like Vegas. It'll be a rivalry between Vegas and Utah. Always have been, always will.
You know, it'd be really funny if, the Utah, if they did do Yetis, and then they got sponsored by, the Yeti Cooling Company, they're insulated.
Okay, I get that. But
That'd be funny.
But hopefully it doesn't turn into, becoming, something similar to, Red Bulls in every sport, okay? Let's not go that far, shall we?
I am very intrigued as to what they decide to do for the name. They could stay with the Coyotes, but I also think that they also could do something along the lines of maybe talking about, granted that the Colorado Avalanche already exists, so that piece is already taken care of.
Okay.
So
can I make 5 suggestions what it might be?
Do any of them involve the Mormons?
Kind of.
I heard.
So let me explain. What's going to happen with the name thing. Yes, Alex Smith, the owner of the former Coyotes, he has his ideas. But let me explain to you, but here's why I'm a little hesitant what he's going to choose, all right? Because one, the Yetis keep popping up over and over again based on what he talks about and stuff like that. And two, he was the one that turned the Utah Jazz jersey into the yellow and black ghetto uniforms that we have now, which we all don't like still, okay? So, however, he has decided it's going to be in a bracket voting type of thing. So the fans are going to have inputs and stuff like that, and it's going to be a bracket vote. kind of like March Madness kind of thing. So, but here are 5 names to consider. Okay, so the first one is the Yetis, and we've already discussed that one, so that's on the table, which I don't like. Okay, the second one. The second one could be the Utah Eagles. Because other than like the Utah Grizzlies, which we have now other than like I had a friend call me, I'll have to text him back. But like the Eagles was a former hockey team in Utah, not an NHL team, mind you, but there was previous hockey teams other than the Grizzlies that was here back in like the 60s and 70s, like 70s or the 80s, something like that. So the Eagles would, for a lot of Utah hockey fans, could be a big one. The next one is the Pioneers, and you've already laughed about that one, so moving on. And then the last one is the Utah Stingers, and I think this one's kind of a stretch because we have like a baseball team called the Stingers. So I don't know if Stingers is going to be one, but it is up there as one of the big ones. And then a weird one is the Utah Arches, because we have our natural arches. But that's all I've got.
When I think of that, I think of the St. Louis Arch. So I'm just like, the hell?
Well, the St. Louis Arch, but we have the Rainbow Bridge, what we call the Great Arches. We have Arches National Park. So we have the national. So we have the largest natural arch in the world. So yeah, it's just a couple of ideas here and there. I don't think the Pioneers will go very far, but it is Utah. You never know what's going to happen in this weird place. So
I actually was thinking almost that Pioneers is probably the right one to go with.
But
I mean,
but
here's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
You already have a team that kind of, in terms of pro basketball, that team originated in New Orleans, and they never bothered to change the name.
No.
Never, and they never bothered.
They never bothered.
So I wouldn't be surprised that they either leave it alone with the Coyotes, which you're in a mountainous area, there's probably yotes running around. You go to the Pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, or it ends up becoming this weird Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot type ordeal. Because, I mean, heck, you've got Seattle there with a team that's got a Kraken.
That is true. That is true, and I will give you that. But honestly, with the Utah Jazz thing and not changing it, yes, we wouldn't change a thing. We like the Utah Jazz. Now, the reason, Yeti seems to be like the big deal amongst like many of the YouTube like hockey influencers and stuff like that, and creators and stuff like that. I don't know exactly where it came from, except talked a couple of times by Alex Smith a couple of times. But I don't think it will stay Coyotes. And honestly, Coyotes are only seen in the desert. So it's like, yeah, St. George, there's like coyote colonies here and there, but they were very prevalent in Arizona and Nevada. So I don't see coyotes being there. Plus, Alex Morello, I think I'm saying that name right. He still has the rights to the Coyotes brand. Supposedly, he has the rights to the Coyotes brand. So it's definitely going to be. So I do believe it's definitely going to be a name change. And then if Morello figures out how to make enough money and to get a stadium back up and going, the new expansion team will probably be the Coyotes again. At least as far as I'm
NHL
aware of.
already at 32. Aren't they already at 32 in the NHL right now?
Well, you've got me there, but they said Arizona is an expansion team in 5 years if Alex Murillo can pull it off and find a new place to stay. But with the crowd, with the fans, like in their feelings about his ineptitude, well, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see if he uses the $1 billion that he sold it for to get the stadium he wants. But until then, yeah, Utah's definitely going to have the Utah team is going to be a different name.
All right,
Now-
so now that we've... Well, I didn't know if you were going to continue on that, Saul, so that's why I was like... And now that we've kind of gotten through that portion of it...
We overdid it, maybe.
Maybe.
We did a good amount. I liked it.
But I'm gonna hit one more little quick take before we hit two more that may be on a little bit more of a somber note. And staying on this light note, the Wrexham club over in Wales, owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, has been promoted to League One, which is 2 stages below the Premier League. And they did it with a 6-0 victory over Green Forest Rovers. This is back-to-back seasons that this club has been promoted for the first time in its club's 159-year history. And it takes American actors in order to be able to own a team that can get them there. Say all you want about Europeans being able to colonize America. American people know how to own pro sports organizations.
Cue the Lee Greenwood.
Now hold on. Wait, time out. Hold on.
I didn't say anything about Americans and being able to handle very much of their own domestic sports organizations.
No. There's one flaw in your argument, though, and it's Manchester United. I'm just gonna leave it right there. But
I mean, that is just a mess in and of itself.
Yeah, you have the owners of an NFL football team trying to be owners of a Premier League team, and look how well that's been going.
That just sounds like something that they've already tried to do in terms of Ted Lasso on TV show.
Yeah, but Ted Lasso did it better.
Oh, that is an amazing show.
It is, though.
We need to get Ruckus on the train.
Yes, we do.
Eventually.
He's like, can we move on now?
Well, no, I wanted to insert my joke of this. Insert Lee Greenwood. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be an American.
All rise.
Okay. On 2 more somber notes, we're going to start with the juice. O.J. Simpson has passed away last Thursday, not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before, while we were on our week off from cancer. And although it's a very, very odd legacy-defined situation for him, because you had OJ, the football player, and then you had OJ, the icon, and the glove not fitting.
And the Bronco.
And the Ford Bronco, and probably everybody buying into the fact that we all know he did it.
Of course he did it.
This is why I stay away from orange juice.
Yeah, they ruined OJ. You can't say OJ anymore because then it's like, dadgummit. See?
Oh my!
Well, like my family, we used to call it OJ all the time, and then all of a sudden OJ Simpson came up and just disappeared from the table.
Yeah. Yep. But I think for me, on a much more somber note and more recent passing away, was the passing away of the Schwab, Howie Schwab, a famous ESPN producer and personality, passing away on Saturday at the age of 63. And I'm sure that Saul and I both were very familiar of the 2000s and all of those ESPN original shows.
Mm-hmm.
2-minute drill. I mean, you had 2-minute drill with Kenny Mayne, but this one for me was talking about, of course, Stump the Schwab with the late Stuart Scott as the host, and Howie Schwab going through and actually some of the primetime games that we had done, Ruckus, like the Alma Matters and some of these others, they were inspired by some Stump the Schwab type ordeals.
Mm-hmm.
I had to draw inspiration from that. I had to, and I think without the Schwab and being able to fundamentally execute things with the research side and things that we do in terms of this podcast, and more than likely other podcasts around, not just us, that I think without Howie Schwab, what we're doing is not possible. And being able to be in, even though we're much smaller scale, the amount of research that he would have had to do, and then knowing all of that information to be able to be super competitive in a show, and not just have that muscle, but be able to flex it, was highly entertaining, very, very fun to watch, and very insightful for me to learn about that process as a teenager when Stump the Schwab came out. So I definitely want to conclude this transaction log with kind of a special thanks. Anyone else have anything to add?
I never really saw the impact of him, but I know he'll be definitely missed for his for what he has done for ESPN and the ESPN family.
Yeah, you were. I think when he was kind of in his hay on the TV screen, I think, yeah, because I think I'm about 7 years older than you, so you were in grade school when,
Yeah.
you were more so. You were probably more so in your terms of like just learning little league type things.
I used to like watch Sports Center like all the time before school too, but I only really knew Stuart Scott and then maybe like Steve Levy, the guy that used to do like just straight up hockey and now does like all sorts of sports.
Back when he was good. Sorry.
Yep. And upon the conclusion of that note, we're going to get right into some news as far as some upcoming content or even content that's just happened. March to October runs for us are in progress. This week, episode 3s will be releasing. Myself on Thursday and Ruckus on Friday. Tune into those. I released a special Let's Play video with the Team Affinity Season 1, Chapter 2, Extreme Showdown, where I naturally play MLB The Show on All-Star, and I got stretched in this showdown, and somehow I managed to succeed in really my third major attempt at this showdown. And there is no episode next week as I will be inactive due to practicing what I preach here and playing some ball, playing and coaching some softball, some slow pitch ball, but still ball nonetheless. But more so also next week will also be my birthday. So I am, after the game, going to be out to dinner, so I will not be able to make it back in time for our normal recording time. So I have chosen to say no episode next week due to some other life-related circumstances, more so on my end. But we know, but Ruckus, of course, had major things going on too that kind of will change a lot of stuff.
We'll keep that as a sneak preview for now.
A lot of big moves being made over on both sides of the Ruckus and the Menace. But now, Ruckus, we move on to our Eastwood segment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right. So, what was the good in the sports this week? Do you want to start it off, Mr. Spennis? Or do you want me to?
I think we can go through with that because I think we were both in agreement on this one. As the 2024 WNBA draft class has officially found out their professional playing spots. Caitlin Clark will be going to the Indiana Fever. Cameron Brink, also known as the god sister of Stephen Curry, is going to be an LA Spark. And Angel Reese and I can't remember. It's Cardoso.
I think it's Camila Cardoso.
Camila Cardoso will form the main pieces of the front court for the Chicago Sky. And Paige Beckers, though she was there at the event, she did not declare for the 2024 class, and she will be a part of next year's class. And Ruckus, even though we had some really, really good things coming to the WNBA with a very generational class.
Oh yeah.
And this class was box office for the college basketball tournament last month. So I think you go about a couple more months, you ride this wave, and this class needs to really grow the game. And if this class is not the one that's able to get a whole bunch of people into the stadiums to be able to bring the WNBA to some sense of prominence, I don't think there is anything that is going to... There's not going to be another class like this one.
I think it's a lot harder to tell with the most like sports that either have been around or haven't been around for very long. And I don't know if it's because of the different genders that have it, because like I feel like basketball has predominantly been a very popular men's sport, and that's kind of where I draw that distinction without seeming like I'm like a terrible person or whatever, because I think, oh duh, whatever. The WNBA, how long has WNBA been around?
The WNBA, I believe, if I remember this correctly, has been around since 1990. Founded, actually, interestingly enough, on this day in 1996.
Yep.
The WNBA was founded.
It was just after the Jazz and Bulls season. Finally,
it was. Actually, it would have been just. Actually, I think this is. Actually, I think this is technically before. The first season was just after, but the founding date The founding date was actually during the back end of the 1995-1996 season,
Right.
where Jordan was pretty much, I believe that was the 72-10 Bulls, where they dismantled the
Go ahead. I can take it.
Seattle Supersonics.
Wait, was it?
It actually was the Seattle Supersonics in the final.
He thought you were gonna say the Jazz.
I was like, go ahead, I can take it.
It was the 72-10. Yeah, 72-10.
Let me get my
Bulls.
Let me see here.
Yeah, it is the Seattle Supersonics.
Are you trying to get a sound effect going there, Saul?
No, I was just double checking my dates, and I think he's right.
The year that
Yeah.
the WNBA was founded was just before the finals with the Bulls and the Sonics.
Oh,
The
it was
first
97,
season
98.
started-
Yes, you're right.
It was 96, 97, and 97, 98 were the two. But
That's
just
right,
before
that's
the
right.
WNBA launched, but the first season that the WNBA launched was yes, where you sit this true. It was just after the Bulls defeated the Jazz the first time through.
Yes.
Yep. And the point I was gonna say was I didn't know how long the WNBA has been around, but it definitely hasn't been around as long as the NBA. So like I feel like in this time period that we're in, especially since more people are tuning into things more regularly, I think the WNBA might be getting a little bit more traction, but I just don't know by how much. But it definitely is an exciting time for the WNBA to get some more more competition on the women's front compared to the men's.
Well, it's getting rear ends into seats, right? Because that's kind of how all these sports. Kind of how all sports is getting bigger and better, is getting everybody into the stands, everybody into seats, and the NBA has done it longer. It's true.
Yeah, true. The NBA has been in a much longer time, but also consider this: that granted, I was a kid when the WNBA first came out.
Oh, I agree. I remember watching the first game when it was televised. Yeah.
And you had Cynthia Cooper, like names like Cynthia Cooper, Lisa Leslie, Tisha Penicheiro, Cheryl Swoops. Like all these people paved the way to eventually have Shamika Holtzclaw within the first couple of years. Then Elena Deladon years later, Sue Bird, and all these other names now have Maya Moore, Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley, who's now coaching at South Carolina, was an early WNBA player. The way had been paved by them to set the table for this class. And this class could be the most box office class draft-wise that the WNBA has had in a long time. Probably since the original, almost possibly since the original, if not at least during the time of, say, Elena Deladon and Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi. All those notable names.
Not to mention the whole Las Vegas Aces team.
Oh yeah, I mean even the Aces. Yeah, I mean the Aces I think kind of came along later. It's like you had teams kind of like revolving door themselves around, because there used to be a WNBA team in Sacramento. There used to be a WNBA team in San Antonio.
Well, they started the inaugural season with every WNBA team in every single one of the the NBA cities anyway, because like the Stars were originally from Utah until they got moved elsewhere. But
And then they became the Silver Stars in San Antonio. So now it's like you have Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Indiana, New York, Washington, Dallas, Las Vegas, LA, Minnesota, Phoenix, and Seattle. So the only two that aren't really in an NBA city are the Connecticut Sun and technically the Las Vegas Aces.
right.
And the Aces actually are coached by someone who transitioned actually from the men's game coaching to the women's game, and Becky Hammon.
Mm-hmm.
So very much a Greg Popovich coached. And then the future expansion currently has a plan with Golden State and being in the San Francisco area. But it looks like they started out in Cleveland, Charlotte, Houston, Sacramento, LA, New York, and Phoenix. They started in Utah, then went to San Antonio to then become the Vegas Aces.
Right.
The Mystics came in as the first major expansion team, along with Detroit. That Detroit Shock team has now become the Dallas Wings. The Minnesota Lynx and Orlando ended up with teams. They since ended up with the Connecticut Sun, drawing off of Orlando. Portland and Miami had teams. Indiana and Seattle have existed. And the Chicago Sky and Atlanta Dream were later teams that came in shortly before Houston and Sacramento disbanded. So basically there were 6 teams that folded and 5 teams that relocated. So they've had a little bit of evolution over the years. But to think, 28 years of where the WNBA stands, and they're kind of early on at this point into getting a 13th team. It's actually very intriguing to go through the WNBA history right now. And that now these ladies get to continue that. We're excited. I'm almost excited to kind of see what they bring to the table.
Drew, do you think this generation's the make or break of the WNBA?
I think that this is definitely the one that, if there becomes a golden age of the WNBA, it is absolutely going to happen here. Is it make or break? Maybe not this year. But okay. I think possibly next year for sure with bringing in Paige Beckers.
Okay.
So now that we've gotten through the good and kind of the great that could potentially come in it, Ruckus, this one's more you. What was not so great in sports this week?
So, Saul probably saw this earlier, but I was looking up just to back up my point on this bad this week. So, Sunday, aka yesterday, but when you guys hear this, it'll be Tuesday. So, Sunday, I went to a Royals game at Kauffman Stadium against Spanish's Orioles. The Royals lost horribly by a score of like 4 or 5-0.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then me and my friends decided to go into the team store because I was curious about how much a Bobby Witt jersey was going to be. So you know how like nowadays they have like the advertisement on one of the sleeves if they are like sponsored by someone. So like the Braves have the Quick Crete sponsorship on their patch. and the Royals now have their Quick Trip patch. So, for as long as I can remember, the advertisement usually was just a part of the jersey for most teams. Like, you know how, like, with the soccer mainly, it was like an advertisement. Like, you would have, like, the New York Red Bulls. You would have the Red Bull logo.
Oh yeah, on the front of the jersey and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
uh-huh.
like the main sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one kind of threw me into a loop because here's the thing: when you go to like a sports store, especially if it's like at like an arena or something, you're gonna be spending $20 or $30 more regardless. Because like on the Royals official jersey site, it's about, so I just looked at this. It's a Nike City Connect replica jersey that sells for $160. It sold for about like $20 more than that when I went to the Royal shop, which makes sense. You got to pay your employees somehow. But what didn't make sense to me was they added a $10 fee if you wanted to get the Quick Trip patch onto that jersey. To me, that just sounds a little iffy because here's the thing: in a sense, logically, you're paying for extra advertisement on a jersey you purchased already.
Okay.
I think that's dumb. I feel like it should just be included on the jersey. Maybe you could pay extra to not have it there, but I just think that's dumb. And what I mean by I was trying to research this a little bit more was I literally just went to the online MLB shop and there is no option to get that patch on. So I don't know if they're waiting to like do that option on the online shop or if it's like more of a niche thing where if you go to like the team shop at the stadium, they'll do that as like a as like a special deal that you can't get anywhere else. Is my guess. But I thought it was a bad thing because it's like, well, in the future, are teams or other things gonna have you be more widespread trying to get more money out of you because they have a sponsorship with the team, even though you could literally get that jersey or whatever, like a soccer one, and still be buying that jersey, you know? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's kind of a little extreme. But of course, it's like it's a jersey that's already over $100 anyway. So yeah. But like, did I see that right? It's almost $200 for a jersey, like for a home jersey.
So it was about, so the Bobby Witt one I saw was about $175, which sounds about right. And then if you want to add the Quick Trip patch for the advertisement on the left shoulder, I think, or left panel, it's like an extra $10 to get that patch put on.
Does it make its value go up if you get the patch? It was like for like jersey collectors and stuff like that.
I don't know if that. I feel like it's more for nostalgia at some point because the Royals historically have not had a sponsor, and I think baseball started doing that sponsor on the patch thing like last year. So I think some teams have adopted it quicker than others. Like I think the Marlins were like one of the first to do it, and theirs was like ADT, the home security company.
Oh right, yeah.
And then like there's other teams that started doing it. It mainly was just like you did advertisements like on the fields and stuff, be like, and like have like a few sponsors where like it was like shown on like the third base or first base side and stuff like that. But yeah, so do we want to go straight into the ugly now? Menace, where you at, homeboy? Oh, he's muted. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I forgot I was muted.
I'm just
But
the
it
guest.
is-
Don't mind me. I'm just.
But it is back to me for the ugly here, as Jonte Porter has received a lifetime ban for gambling. He placed 13 bets totaling just over 54,000 and only profited about $21,695 on games that he did not play in, but some of them were on the team that he was playing for in the Toronto Raptors. This was the first ban for gambling in the NBA since the 50s. And for me, there is only one thing I really can say about this. He was making all that, like, he would be making more money actually playing basketball and riding the pine than anything that he was profiting off of gambling. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We're not going to miss you in the NBA, Jonte Porter. And this is why you are the dummy of the episode.
you blew it.
You blew it. Music. Anyway.
Oh my, I think I just kind of had to let that one fire itself out. And
Let him
now
cook.
we
Rage quit much? No. I'm just kidding.
All right.
I think that's just kind of the simple note that we needed to put to the table on this. And speaking of basketball and of course hockey from earlier, we now go into the high heat where it's playoffs. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs?
Playoffs.
Playoffs.
As it is playoff time in both the NHL and the NBA. And as far as the NHL, we have brought SaulTWalterz out of Fighting for Democracy and Helldivers to join us in talking about the NHL.
Make this quick. My LIber-Tea's getting cold.
All right, Saul. The first major thing really with the NHL is who are we really looking as potential key teams making it to the Stanley Cup?
Well, let's see here. Need to get the bracket up here. Let's take a look.
Because I'm looking at the Atlantic Division now, and it's the Panthers versus the Lightning, and I think
That's going to be fun.
that is a fun series that is staying in state, as it is Miami versus Tampa.
So, like, there's no excuses for, like, airplanes and stuff like that, right? I mean, this is
a ride the bus series.
Yes.
And then the other one in the Atlantic Division is Boston and not Tampa Bay, Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
It is Bruins Maple Leafs. Currently the Panthers lead that series 1-0 against Tampa Bay.
Yeah. The Maple Leafs had made a comeback against the Bruins, so now it's 1-1. After that painful loss to the Bruins, like 5-1 the night before.
Yep.
Oh gosh, that was.
Yep, and the series moves to Toronto on Wednesday for 2. So
Yes.
and they do this just like in basketball, where it's the 2-2, 1-1-1, which I like.
Oh, I agree.
And now and in the Metropolitan Division, the second wild card's the Washington Capitals, and they're going on and taking the New York Rangers.
Yeah, that.
And this is probably going to be a drubbing.
Well, I wouldn't say that completely, because the Rangers did win 4-1 against the Capitals.
Oh yeah, but I'm even saying that I think that the Capitals are going to get drubbed.
Oh, the Capitals are the ones getting jumped. I see.
Yes. Yes, that is. I mean, I'm in the DC area, but I know that we're dealing with an aging Alexander Ovechkin, one that we've probably kind of held on to much too long. But he's got the NHL record for most goals scored for one team.
It's true, and he did get more goals scored when we were discussing about him earlier in the year, or like earlier last year.
Yeah, because I think we're.
Yeah, but this New York Rangers team, yeah, I kind of just blew them off, to be honest, during the whole season. I'm surprised at what's going on over there.
Yeah, I mean, Ovechkin's at 853 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll still probably have to take 2 seasons in order to do it and play into his 40s. But
Probably 2 seasons. But hey, Gretzky, let's see. Did Gretzky make it to 40? He retired.
if
Wayne
he
Gretzky.
didn't, Gretzky was close.
Gretzky was close. Yeah, I think he retired. When he played 20 seasons. Let's see.
Retired at 38.
Wait, retired at 38. Oh, and Ovechkin's 38.
Yep, Ovechkin is currently 38. But also, I'm trying to think of how long ago Ovechkin entered the league. I think he entered the league in 2004, so he was, I think, 19.
He was 19.
So he was about
yeah.
19. And I think Gretzky, of course, with
Dude,
Gretzky playing 20 seasons, I think they probably entered at about roughly the same age.
Dude looks like he's 50.
And Gretzky looks like he's barely aged past 50, maybe even borderline 55.
Dude, he's like 60 years old, and he doesn't
He's
even look
63.
60. Yeah, he's 63, but he doesn't look 60, you know? Like,
Yeah.
he's gotten bigger. I mean, when you get older, yeah, he's going to get bigger, but like...
Dude looks like he could like stand in for Arch Manning.
He's like a shorter Tony Hawk.
All right.
He's like Tony Hawk's little brother.
And then the other one in the Metropolitan is the Hurricanes and the Islanders.
I'm watching this one with great interest. Just because it's like two...
Oh, it's 2-0 Canes right now.
Oh, yeah. It's like the low... But it's like the low... Well, is it low-end teams? I don't think so, but like...
I mean, they're the 2-3 matchup in the Metropolitan, but the Hurricanes are... The Hurricanes only finished 3 points behind the Rangers.
That is true.
And of course, moving over into the Western Conference, you have Dallas and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg and Colorado. Vancouver and Nashville. And Edmonton and the Kings. Now that's a Gretzky series.
Mm-hmm.
As it's Oilers and Kings. But I think what's really, really good about this is that you've got plenty of competitive teams. And I probably, if I really wanted to kind of look at it here, I think I would probably be picking I'd probably take Carolina. Like, I'd probably take Carolina to come out of the. If they make it deep and get by the Rangers, I think they could unless they do some like odd reseeding.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carolina's coming out of the Metropolitan. I think Carolina could come out of the Metropolitan.
Right.
And then probably play Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, then on the Western Conference side, I think you've got. I think it'll probably be Colorado. I think it's probably gonna be Colorado. I think Colorado and Edmonton will probably be the two that ultimately come out of those.
Are you
And I'm
sure?
hoping. Oh, the Oilers?
I don't know. Well, I'm looking at. Well, here's the thing. It's like we shouldn't cancel out Vegas just yet. Just because they were a walk-in team. I think
here's where you're at. Vegas is playing Dallas.
Okay.
So even if Vegas gets through, I think you still have to deal with either Winnipeg or Colorado on the other side.
That's true. And we've done both before. Well, maybe not Edmonton, but we have dealt with Colorado in the past. Colorado is a good team, but I think Vegas, Vegas, the cheating team, as it were, based on like Stone's return from injury and stuff like that. But the team does improve with Stone on the team, healthy and active. So I'm just gonna sit tight. But I think, and this could be bias coming out, and I will admit that. But like, if Vegas can take out, if Vegas is dominating as they are right now with Dallas, I don't know. Anything could happen.
Yeah, if they're a team that can play huge, then that is.
But like Chicago, but like Colorado and Edmonton, yes, they are the top in the Pacific for sure. But I'm just saying, let's not cancel Vegas out just yet. I mean,
Colorado's in the Central.
Oh, Colorado's in Central. That's right.
Yes, I have Colorado coming out of the Central.
Ooh.
Or I'm predicting Colorado's coming out of the Central.
Let's see here. Oh, there's the standings I was looking for. Okay. Eastern, Western, yeah. But give me the visions.
Yeah.
That's right. Colorado would be the next. Yeah, you would be right about Colorado Central. But Dallas and Vegas Golden Knights are playing right now, and so if Vegas kicks them out, that is. Yeah, you've got me there.
It makes it entirely possible. It makes it entirely possible.
It is possible, yes. But there's one we need to consider here also. Vancouver.
Yeah, I do think that because Vancouver will get by Nashville, no problem.
They will get by Nashville. And then they'll have to go against Edmonton. But I wouldn't cancel out Vancouver just yet because
I'm not counting out. I definitely am not counting out the Canucks. I just think that one is probably going to go the distance. That one's going to go the distance.
Oh, you think there'll be a game 7 for that one?
I think they'll go. I'm thinking they're going to go 7.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to go 7. And I think Edmonton's going to manage to pull something out.
That will be interesting to see.
Because Edmonton, the only biggest difference there is that Edmonton has scored 5 points less than the Canucks. But I think that Edmonton and Connor McDavid, I don't think that you're gonna want to not see him make a Stanley Cup and contend for one.
Yeah,
because he has become hockey's latest megastar.
Oh, I agree. But with Vancouver though, Now they've scored. Now in the season, they have scored over. They've scored over Edmonton as season points by about 5 points. So it's pretty equal there. But I'm looking at the wins, the losses, the overtimes. Vancouver has won more games in overtime than Edmonton has, and they haven't lost as many games as Edmonton has. Now, of course, mind you, Edmonton had that nasty losing streak at the beginning of the season, and they've gotten over that. And I'll give them that. So that losing thing is not that significant. But yeah, but the goals allowed is less from Vancouver. The goals made is more for Edmonton than Vancouver. But the percentage is 66% to 63%. Yeah, I Edmonton and Vancouver I think are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty even.
It's going to be pretty even. But I still think Vegas is going to beat Colorado. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But Saul, who are your two that are probably going to try and make it, that you're thinking may make it to the Cup? I am saying Carolina and Edmonton, just kind of off of a brazen prediction. Kind of not necessarily looking at the top teams in the conference. Not go too chalk. Know that there's unpredictability in the NHL playoffs.
My gut is telling me New York. My gut is telling me New York. It'd probably go. Oh, come on, go back. No. I want to say it would be a fight between the Bruins and New York Rangers is what I'm thinking. But Florida has their teams too, but I mean the oh gosh. Let's see. I'm going to think it's like the New York Rangers versus Panthers are hungry this year. So Panthers versus Rangers, I think, in the Eastern Conference. And then I would say, bias allowed, I would say it's the Golden Knights versus the Rangers, I think. I think that's how I would put it.
You're gonna go Golden Knights Rangers in the Cup final?
I'm thinking Golden Knights Rangers, probably. But I don't know if but Carolina's like the one. But Carolina and the they're. Yeah, but Carolina's doing awesome right now too.
Yeah, the hardest part with Carolina is that they'll have to get through New York in the get through the Rangers in the Metropolitan.
They do have to go through the Rangers, which is why I'm hesitating. I think the Golden Knights will take care of Edmonton. Even though they're a walk-in team. But like I said, they have Stone, their injured players are coming back in. Edmonton
who has Kachuk?
Which one?
Either
Florida Panthers. The Panthers have Kachuk.
I just remember he would get into so many fights.
And he probably will again.
All right. Do we want to talk quickly about the NBA
Yep.
play-in?
I'm gonna go right into the NBA and
That's fine.
the play-in games.
Play-in.
For the Western Conference, the Lakers automatically advanced, and the Kings then played the Pelicans. So the Warriors were bounced.
Yay! I mean,
The 76ers advanced to take the 7th place spot. And then the Bulls bounced the Hawks. And then the teams that got bounced on Friday night were the Bulls, finishing with the 9th in the West, and the Kings, the Bulls 9th in the East and Kings 9th in the West, as the Pelicans took the 8th. Pelicans and Heat took the 8th seed. The Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs lead the series 2-0. The Knicks are up 2-0 on the Sixers. And the Nuggets are down 15 in Game 2 to the Lakers. The Celtics lead the Heat 1-0. The Clippers over the Mavericks. The Bucks over the Pacers as Dame had a huge game. And then the Thunder narrowly escaped Game 1 and defeating the Pelicans. Tomorrow's games, the next games are Game 2 with the Suns and Timberwolves, as the Suns lead that series 1-0. The Pacers and Bucks play Game 2, and the Mavericks and Clippers. Later on in the week, you have Miami and Boston, and New Orleans and Oklahoma City. And that will be the cadence of the schedule for the first round, as teams will transition over from the high seeds having home court to the low seeds. Teams I see going probably extremely far that are going to shock. I think the Knicks. I think the Knicks are a surprising team. I think it's quite surprising that the Orlando Magic have just gotten here, especially as a 5 seed. I think the Magic might be severely overachieving.
Let's see, NBA playoffs.
Well, Cleveland's winning by 2 games, though, right? Against the Magic?
Yeah, that's what I said. The Magic right now are overachieving.
No.
They're overachieving, and they're probably going as far as what this young team is going to be able to take them.
Okay.
I think
at this stage right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think the defending champs have very much a chance. It's very much a Nikola Jokic versus Davis showdown. But I see the Boston going deep. I think the team that I really think is going to be a shocker in the West, if it's not the Nuggets, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are a team that is on a tear. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been an incredible pickup for them. And I believe, if I remember this correctly, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander started out as a Clipper. At least started out as a Clipper and got traded over. Yeah, he was traded. Yeah, he was a major part of the Paul George deal that sent Paul George to the Clippers. And Gilgeous-Alexander has now finally broken through. And has become a really good player over the last few years for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I feel like Dame Lillard has really also stepped into his role with the Bucks now since Giannis is
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that as well. That I think Dame has finally found his role. And I think has now found where the switch can go. It just has to now. It's a bummer that Giannis is out. Because it doesn't push the Bucks as far up the way, but I think that if Dame can kind of coast them until Giannis is able to make a healthy return, then I think the Bucks will be just fine.
yeah.
And I don't think the Bucks are in a position to panic. And the Celtics, with the WVU alum Joe Mazzulla coaching them, has been really like to win 64 games. I'm very wondering how much they have left in the tank for the playoffs.
Yep. All right.
But I think if they've done it right,
good.
they really are going to be able to make some noise.
I think we should really transition now to the color commentary.
I think you're right, because we're on the clock as the draft is on the way. The NFL draft is this week, and now we will ask the certain questions, especially now that Zach Wilson has been traded to the Broncos.
Yeah, and this happened late today, too.
Earlier today, yeah. But the first question we have is, how does the draft shape out for NFL for the top quarterbacks in the prospect realm? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, and Jaden Daniels. Where do we kind of see all of these quarterbacks going? And this could even include some guys that possibly could make their way further up the board in guys like Michael Penix Jr. and even Spencer Rattler.
I have a bad feeling about the Jets trying to take like either JJ McCarthy or maybe taking like Michael Penix Jr. in the draft and then like running him into the ground because their offensive line is over at the Jets is terrible. Especially if you get the
They still have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but you had him for like 4 minutes and then he was gone for like the whole season. So I mean, how much discount double check can you get from Aaron Rodgers?
Well, you might have a little bit left. You may still have a little bit left. Especially if they can keep him upright. I don't think the Jets go quarterback, even with trading away Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
or at least in the first round they don't.
I'm just hoping that whatever they get out of that 6th round pick, it's something worthwhile. I don't know if that's in this year's draft or whatnot, but I don't know what the Broncos are gonna do with Zach Wilson because you got Ben DiNucci.
You have Sean Payton. You have Sean Payton there.
Right, but the quarterbacks over in Broncos country are not the greatest, but I guess Wilson adds like a pivotal
Oh yeah, it's another quarterback. It's another Baker Mayfield type situation where it allows Zach Wilson an opportunity to get to a franchise that could revive his career.
As
That
far
is
as
that is where we stand there.
Will it though? I mean,
If you kind of survey how certain NFL trends have gone, with Baker Mayfield going to Tampa Bay, Geno Smith in Seattle, if Zach Wilson is able to find a home and do decently in Denver, I think he is going to be fine.
just keep him away from his friend's mom, and you'll be fine.
Well, true, and also Colorado is also closer to where he played college ball at BYU. So, who knows if that had anything to do with it. And also getting out of the New York media.
Menace. I'm a BYU football fan.
Uh-oh.
And even all of us after like Philadelphia, we were like, or after the Jets, we were like, oh fudge. Yeah, not a lot of BYU fans are kind of motivated to see what Zach can do.
Yeah.
But you could be right. But after watching him in several games the last couple of years, even watching some of his BYU games, like a lot of those were like lucky shots and stuff like that, or like lucky passes and stuff like that, like long balls and stuff like that. And it sounds, and that was the one thing that Russell Wilson never did, was like long passes. So maybe he might have a shot there. But
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well,
But I could be wrong. And I'll eat my words if he does well in Colorado.
yeah. But then here's another thing that I'm going to throw out there. Chicago is definitely taking Caleb Williams.
Well,
Washington.
We'll wait for
I don't have
that on
a
Thursday.
I don't have a doubt with that for a second. Especially with how this is all setting up. They traded away Justin Fields, so they needed another quarterback to get in there. And Caleb Williams is going to be it. And then there will be some team that will try and trade up for JJ McCarthy. However, I believe that Denver is now out of the quarterback race for the first round. I believe Zach Wilson should exit the Broncos out of the quarterback race for the first round. They may pursue something like a Rattler. The Raiders, I think, are probably going to be the favorites to get Michael Penix Jr. I have the team that probably will move up to get JJ McCarthy being the Minnesota Vikings. If the Patriots do not steal him first, if the Vikings do get hijacked by the Patriots at taking JJ McCarthy at 3 and not trading down, then I believe the Vikings will get Bo Nix at that point. But the bigger question is going to be, what does Washington do at 2? Is what is going on with pick number 2 of the draft. Because we know Caleb Williams is going 1 overall. And that's probably going to be a given. But it's more so what Washington does at 2. Peters has said that he is very, very content in hanging on to that pick and drafting something.
I think here's what I think happens. I don't think Caleb Williams gets picked number 1 overall. All the media and stuff that has happened over since the combine makes me feel a little flaky on him. Doesn't feel sure about that. He was saying a lot of crap, like a lot of dumb things over the past few months. and didn't even go into the combine, whereas many other quarterbacks did, and they were showing like, hey, like this is what I'm not like afraid to show myself. Whereas Caleb Williams is like, oh, I just don't want to do it. What does that say for a future quarterback for a team? And of course, he shined on his pro day because he was more comfortable with that apparently. But I just think it's dumb that like if you're invited to a combine and other people are doing it and participating, I feel like you should equally participate as well instead of acting like you're better than everyone or that you need to like not showcase your talents because of this variable or that variable. I think Williams probably goes like top 10, maybe top 15. I think it turns into like a Johnny Manziel situation where we think he's going to get eventually drafted, but then falls. Drake
But then
May,
who do you have the Bears taking at 1 then?
not Williams. Maybe some other defensive help, maybe another different weapon, who knows. I mean maybe Caleb Williams, but I don't feel strongly about that.
They
Maybe
just traded away Justin Fields.
They did a lot of things.
They don't have the number 1 quarterback. Granted that as much as I would love to say this name being the starting quarterback, though he probably won't, is Tyson Bagent. Do you really have, although I know I would, in my hometown bias, would say yes, and in knowing him, I would say yes, but do you think that the Bears are going to have the stones to pass on a quarterback at number 1 overall just to stick it to the man and have Tyson Bagent start? Do you really think they're going to do that?
They could. No one's telling them that they can't. It's just the media is mainly saying like, hey, Caleb Williams is probably going to get picked by the Bears, and they've been saying this for like months now. I just don't believe it. I choose not to believe that Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear. If he is, all right, cool, whatever.
Did you have 100% belief that Caitlin Clark was going to be drafted by the? Granted, it's not the same sport, but Caitlin Clark being drafted first overall to the NBA, to the Indiana Fever. Did you have that belief right away?
I kind of figured it would probably happen. She didn't cause trouble in the media. All she did was shoot buckets, my guy. she's like one of the greatest WNBA player, or not WNBA players. She's one of the greatest women's basketball players to play in most recent history, besides Sabrina Ionescu and many others in that point. I think if Caleb Williams actually gave a shit about playing and didn't have all this drama, then sure, I would be thinking differently. But I don't think you waste your first overall on Caleb. Drake May. So I think Drake May, he probably gets top 20, top 30, or maybe he goes to the second round. Bo Nix, he'll probably get picked up by a team that really, really, really needs a quarterback. But I feel like most of these rookie quarterbacks, either like the big names like Williams or McCarthy start, but I am not sure how that will go. I feel like JJ McCarthy's probably going to start as a quarterback depending on how he does in training camp, for sure. But I don't know about Jane Daniels. We'll see how he goes with that.
I'll say this. I mean, you still did not definitively give me a name for that. Like, are the Bears going to take a quarterback number 1 overall? They traded away Justin Fields, so you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck in the point where The quarterback position in this draft class is loaded.
Maybe they go for J.J. McCarthy over Williams.
That is, I am going to say, a reach. I think that's a reach, but a reach more in the sense of that I don't think the Bears would fully do that, especially with the amount of receivers that they acquired. I do think that if they were to go the same style of mobile quarterback, that I think they would go more toward a Daniels if they were going to stick away from Williams. I think Williams is kind of just in that everyone is going to so claim that he is the guy. I believe that Drake May and Jaden Daniels might possibly go early, but I now see Bo Nix now likely having to wait. Because I thought Bo Nix would have been set there at 12. But I think Bo Nix is probably going to be waiting. I think the steal is going to come in the third round when somebody drafts Spencer Rattler.
Yeah. All right. Saul, do you have any input?
Nope.
Yep.
All
Next
right.
question here. Will Marvin Harrison Jr. be the first wide receiver off the board? Or will Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze steal the spot?
Here's the thing. I think the first one off the board is Xavier Worthy, but I could be wrong there.
Reach.
I think Harrison Jr. has had some iffy stuff with him too, kind of like Caleb Williams, where it's like they don't release certain things for whatever reason, whether or not either they don't want to put it out for privacy reasons or just other weird reasons. I guess you could say he's the first off the board. Like, I've heard things of him possibly being drafted 5th overall, I think, is what the Chargers pick is, correct?
Yes, that is the Chargers pick.
I-
But the 4th overall pick goes to the Cardinals, and they probably are one that could be likely to take a receiver.
That's funny you say that because I don't think that's happening.
You don't think the Cardinals are going to take a receiver?
Why would they?
The best value off the board. But I think that they will go between.
Why don't they go
Harrison
for a quarterback? Because they were trying to get rid of Kyler Murray before he came back and bedazzled a little bit after his ACL injury.
Because they were waiting for Kyler Murray to come back off of an ACL injury. I do not believe the Cardinals are going to go for a quarterback in the first round. No. If they wanted Kyler Murray out, they should have yeeted him out in a trade months ago. Well before Justin Fields got traded. And they would have done that. So I am probably going to say that I think that if Arizona goes a receiver that is not Marvin Harrison Jr., they are going to get Neighbors. They're going to get Neighbors, and then the Chargers will take Marvin Harrison Jr.
About to see.
Does any quarterback needy team try to trade into the top 3? Do you see a team now like Minnesota or maybe even Las Vegas try and see if they can sneak their way up, especially because New England is possibly open to trading their pick?
I think for sure the Raiders and or the Vikings. I think the Vikings are more willing to push for that because the depth right now that they have is a few young QBs, and then you have Sam Darnold. That's not very good depth for the quarterback room over there in Minnesota, and Honestly, I just. What about Atlanta too? Because aren't they kind of like a dark horse because they're waiting on Kirk Cousins to get healthy? Like, do you think that Kirk Cousins is going to be playing in the beginning of the season, or do you think they kind of nurse him a little bit? Because
They might nurse him a little bit, but I'm not gonna say that Kirk Cousins is a bad pick, like a bad pick. But I would say that if Atlanta were to try and nurse that and try and find a quarterback in the meantime, I would rather try and see if you could sneak a free agent in or someone with a little bit of quarterbacking experience instead of a rookie. Unless you know that you're not going to have Kirk Cousins for a long enough time in that contract because he could potentially retire, you may not this year want to look at a quarterback in Atlanta. Minnesota will try and trade up. I think Minnesota could be the more successful out of the two. But I think if Minnesota were to try and trade up, it would be trying to push New England out of the way to get J.J. McCarthy.
what if they traded Justin Jefferson for that for want to get early in the first round?
They would never. I don't think you push. If you're trying to get a quarterback for Justin Jefferson, New England doesn't have one. That would be dumb. Unless New England is seeing that there is no way that J.J. McCarthy or Drake May is on their interest radar, that they look to trade down unless they really do not want Daniels or May. And they don't bother to take J.J. McCarthy at 3, and they try to let J.J. McCarthy fall a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Bo Nix is probably the one that's going to be probably out of these major quarterbacks we're talking about having the longest wait. But I'm hoping that Bo goes to a very, very solid team.
Yep.
How does Chicago handle number 9?
I feel like that kind of goes in the same juncture as, are they going to actually pull the trigger on Caleb Williams? I don't know what they do. I think they try to do what Houston did last year and go for their big struggle piece and get what they need, and then go for a quarterback, kind of like what the Texans did, where they got one of their defensive guys, and then they went for Stroud. Maybe they go Caleb
No,
Williams,
they went Stroud.
9.
You went Stroud first. They went Stroud first. They got Stroud at 2 and then Anderson at 3.
Maybe I'm wrong, and they go Caleb Williams number 1, and then they find like a wide receiver at number 9. Who knows? But they already have Keenan Allen and
DJ Moore. DJ Moore. So I personally would think, although a receiver would be good, I think this is probably their time where they go and try and grab maybe an offensive tackle, possibly even a corner. Maybe if there's a certain linebacker that they're having an interest that's high enough on the board that I think they look at. Or they trade down, or they use that pick to try and trade as leverage to trade down and get more assets.
all right.
And granted that we know that there's players that are going to climb into the first round that we don't expect. Mahomes probably being a prime example of this. And there's always potential steals. So I think we're gonna go right into our stud and dud of the week.
Sounds good to me.
Ruckus, hit it.
Right, I'll start it off. All right, so my stud of the week is Trevor Bauer tying the Mexican League record of 14 strikeouts in a game set by Jose Ramon Lopez in 1964 and tied by Gary Williams in 1979. And then my dud this week is the Warriors going 0 for 3 in the play-in tournament history. Wah, wah. All right.
I mean, I will say this: the Kings are legit. Like, they are legitimate as a team. And this, I think if they continue to eventually find a way to play extremely well, they could get back to very, very early 2000s relevant. They're almost there. But my stud this week goes into the Korn Ferry Tour in golf. As this kid, Miles Russell, aged no more than necessarily the age of a high school freshman, 15 years old, and he makes history by not only making the cut at a Korn Ferry Tour event, but he also surged up 28 spots on Sunday to finish 20th, tied for 20th overall in the event, being the youngest player to do so in either a PGA Tour or Korn Ferry Tour event since the 80s. And yes, this is a 15-year-old kid. And my dud this week goes to MLB umpire Hunter Wendelstedt for ejecting an innocent Yanks manager Aaron Boone. Though I think I would normally want to celebrate this as a Red Sox fan with the rival Yankee manager getting ejected. And even though Aaron Boone tried to come up with the Shaggy defense, but yet the Shaggy defense in this case was the truth, where he was saying that it wasn't him. If you're saying that it wasn't you, you're generally, and you've been known to have these rants before with umpires, I think his reputation preceded him, even though it was a fan that berated the umpire, and that fan was sitting in the general direction of the Yanks dugout. Blue assumed it was Boone because, yep, if you're going to have arguments like that, your reputation's going to precede you. And he just said, "You're out of here," and tossed him. Either have a better reputation or a better Shaggy defense, Aaron Boone. Ruckus, take us out.
All right. First off, I would like to thank SaulTWalterz for joining our episode this week. Appreciate.
Oh, you guys are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this one.
You're welcome, guys. Anytime.
And then second off, thank you guys for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. This is episode number 96 of the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. This is a Ruckus and The Menace Sports production. We'll see y'all later.
Deuces.
What he said.